Okay, we're going to continue on in our Father's Word. This is Nehemiah 13, verse 25. We're going to finish up Nehemiah and we're going to start the book of Esther. So this is Nehemiah 13, verse 25. So I contended with them and cursed them, struck some of them and pulled out their hair, and made them swear by God, saying, You shall not give your daughters as wives to their sons, nor take their daughters for your sons or yourselves. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Yet among many nations there was no king like him, who was beloved by his God, and God made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, pagan women caused even him to sin. Should we then hear of you doing all this great evil, transgressing against our God by marrying pagan women? And one of the sons of Joiada, the son of Elisha, the high priest, was a son-in-law of Sanballat, the Horonite. Therefore I drove him from me. Remember them, O my God, because they have defiled the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood and the Levites. Thus I cleanse them of everything pagan. I also assign duties to the priest and the Levites, each to his service, and to bring the wood offering and the first fruits at appointed times. Remember me, O my God, for good. Now that's the end of the book of Nehemiah, and we're going to start with Esther. Now Esther was a beautiful young Jewish gal. She was an orphan. Her parents were killed during the captivity. And she became the queen of Persia. And Xerxes picked her to be his queen because she was so beautiful. And she did what Xerxes told him to do. The previous queen rebelled against Xerxes, had a women's party, and Xerxes had a men's party. And when Xerxes wanted to show off his wife to his men buddies, she refused to come. So Xerxes divorced her. So he married Esther, made her his queen. Now Xerxes is also named Ahasuerus, Ahasuerus, and Xerxes took over. You had Cyrus the Great over Babylon. He defeated Babylon by diverting the water of the Euphrates and just walked right into Babylon after he'd lowered the river levels, and all the river gates were open, so he marched his army right in. So he defeated Babylon, and then Darius the Great, Cyrus the Great lived about 10 years, and then Darius the Great took over. And then after Darius the Great, Xerxes took over. The great Persian Empire went from all the way from India to Greece. Now, Esther's third son, Artaxerxes, became the king after Xerxes was assassinated in 465 BC by Artabanus. And he takes over, Artaxerxes does, the third son of Esther, and he takes over, and he's the king from 465 BC to 424 BC, Artaxerxes was. And then Artaxerxes had Artabanus executed for killing the king. And Darius was the king from 522 to 486 BC. So Esther was one of the great heroes of the Jewish people, one of the great women heroes. Now here we go. This is the book of Esther. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Xerxes Ahasuerus, who reigned over 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. In those days, when King Ahasuerus sat on the throne in his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the citadel, there in Iran, a great Persian city, that in the 3rd year of his reign he made a feast for all his officials and servants, the powers of Persia and Media, the nobles and the princes of the provinces, being before him, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the splendor of his excellent majesty for many days, 180 days in all. And when these days were completed, the king made a feast lasting 7 days for all the people who were present in Shushan, the citadel, from great to small, in the court of the garden of the king's palace. There were white and blue linen curtains, fastened with cords of fine linen and purple, on silver rods and marble pillars. And the couches were of gold and silver, on a mosaic pavement of alabaster, turquoise, white and black marble. And they served drinks in golden vessels, each vessel being different from the other, with royal wine in abundance, according to the generosity of the king. In accordance with the law, the drinking was not compulsory, for so the king had ordered all the officers of his household that they should do according to each man's pleasure. Queen Vashti also made a feast for the women in the royal palace, which belonged to King Ahasuerus, that's Xerxes. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, Abagtha, Zehar, and Carcass, 7 eunuchs who served in the presence of King Ahasuerus, to bring Queen Vashti before the king, wearing her royal crown, in order to show her beauty to the people and the officials, for she was beautiful to behold. But Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command brought by his eunuchs. Therefore the king was furious, and his anger burned within him. Then the king said to the wise men who understood the times, for this was the king's manner toward all who knew law and justice, those closest to him being Karshena, Sethar, Admartha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsena, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, who had access to the king's presence and who ranked highest in the kingdom. What shall we do to Queen Vashti according to the law, because she did not obey the command of King Ahasuerus brought to her by the eunuchs? And Memucan answered before the king and prince, Queen Vashti has not only wronged the king, but also all the princes and all the people who are in the provinces of King Ahasuerus. For the queen's behavior will become known to all women, so that they will despise their husband in their eyes when they repent